let's dive right into a question that's so fundamental, we almost never stop to ask it. Why do we even have governments? I mean, why do we all agree to live under a state, with all its laws, taxes, and police?
Okay, let's try a little thought experiment together. Just picture your neighborhood, your town, but with no political authority whatsoever. No one to enforce the rules. You'd have to figure out what's yours and what's mine, who you can trust, how to protect yourself. So what would that life actually be like? Well, as it turns out, the 17th century philosopher Thomas Hobbes had a pretty definitive and honestly chilling answer. He called this world the state of nature, and he argued that without a common authority, human life would be, well, an absolute nightmare. All right, so what exactly did Hobbes mean by this state of nature? He imagined a world with absolutely no rules, what he called a constant war of all against all. I mean, just think about it for a second. There are no public rules, no shared standards. You have to rely completely on your own strength and your own smarts just to survive. Now, this doesn't mean everyone is suddenly evil, not at all. It just means everyone is deeply insecure. You might attack me simply because you're afraid I'm going to attack you first. The result is this constant irrational fear and the ever-present danger of a violent death. So how do you get out of this mess, this nightmare scenario? Well, according to Hobbes, rational people do what rational people do. They make a deal, and he called this deal the social contract. This really lays out the fundamental trade-off, doesn't it? It's like the ultimate bargain at the heart of government. We agree to give up that chaotic, do whatever you want kind of freedom for the order and security that a state can provide. We trade the constant fear of dying violently for the peace that lets us actually build a life. And this right here, this is the absolute core of Hobbes' whole argument. We create a social contract. We agree to hand over our right to do whatever we want to some powerful absolute authority, a sovereign. And in return, that sovereign protects us from each other. It's a trade, plain and simple, a trade for survival. But of course, not everyone was sold on this idea. Almost right away, other thinkers started pushing back. John Locke famously posed this brilliant question. Why would we escape the danger of our neighbors, he called them polecats and foxes, just to put ourselves at the mercy of a lion, an all-powerful, unchecked government? I mean, is the cure actually worse than the disease? And that question really opens up a whole new line of thinking, a new justification for the state. What if the whole point isn't just to keep us from killing each other? What if it's about something more, something positive, like helping us live a good life instead of just avoiding a bad one? And right here, you can see that major shift in thinking. For philosophers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and even way back to Aristotle, the reason for the state isn't negative. It's not just about dodging a bullet. No, it's positive. It's about achieving something great together that we could never ever do on our own. Rousseau's idea here is really fascinating, He argued that true freedom, it isn't just about doing whatever you feel like. Real freedom is living under laws that you helped create. So when we all participate as equal citizens in making the rules, we're not losing freedom. We're actually gaining a deeper kind. He called it moral freedom. And then there's Aristotle, who took it even a step further. For him, the whole point of the state, its entire purpose, is to help make its citizens good people. It's a community built to help us use our reason, to practice virtue, to do noble things. So the state isn't just a security guard, it's more like a moral gymnasium, where we go to train and become our best selves. Okay, but wait, this whole conversation is built on one big assumption, that the state is the solution. But what if it's not? What if the state itself is the fundamental problem? That's exactly what anarchist thinkers argue. And this is the heart of the anarchist challenge. They're not saying the world isn't dangerous. They totally get that. What they're arguing is that creating a state, which is basically a monopoly on force, is an even more dangerous solution. Generally, you see three main lines of argument here. First, and this is pretty simple, a really abusive state is way worse than no state at all. Second, there's a practical argument. Just look at the harms the state can cause. Wars, oppression. Do those harms actually outweigh the benefits? And the third one is all about rights. Basically, no government can be legitimate unless every single person living under it has personally said, yep, I agree to this. And this brings us to our last and maybe most critical question. We've been talking all about this social contract. But what if what if it was never the deal we thought it was?
Just to recap, the whole idea hinges on this agreement, right? An agreement made by the people to create a state for everyone's benefit. And on the surface, that sounds great. It sounds totally universal, totally inclusive.
But here's the kicker. When these theories were being written, who actually counted as the people? Who was considered a full person able to sign on to this grand agreement? Was it really everyone?
Well, a lot of critics would say the answer is a hard no. The social contract, they argue, was never an agreement among everyone. If you look at history, it was really an agreement among, say, property-owning men to create a state that protected their stuff and their interests. And often, that came at the expense of everybody else. And the philosopher Charles Mills takes this critique to a whole other level with his concept of the racial contract. He makes a really powerful argument that the social contract that created modern Western states wasn't just exclusive, it was fundamentally an agreement among white people to set up a system of racial hierarchy. And according to Mills, this isn't some bug in the system, an accidental flaw. No, he says it's a feature. It's the system's design. The contract itself was written to create a political order where whites are the full people with all the rights and privileges, and non-whites are, by definition, subordinate. Now, this critique is a total game changer. It completely reframes the entire debate. It forces us to ask, is the state really a neutral referee, just providing security for everyone like Hobbes thought? Or has its main job all along been to create and enforce a very specific social and racial hierarchy? So look where we've ended up. We started with the state as a deal to escape a brutal, nasty life. Then we saw it as a project for living a good, flourishing life. And now, as a possible engine for hierarchy and exclusion, the state exists, that's for sure, and it is incredibly powerful. But this whole centuries-long debate really just leaves us with the most pressing question of all. Who exactly is it for?